No, 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 stop, 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 stop. That is not music at all. That was a horrible squeaky noise. I said, no, no, stop, 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 stop. That is not music at all. That was a horrible squeaky noise. Peppa asked, what? Like this? And then I said, no, no, stop, 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 stop. That is not music at all. Or when I said, that was fun, children. Wasn't that fun? And they all said, yes, Mrs. Anna. That's right. I said, this music is a little bit different. Remember, I want you to listen to it carefully and think, how does it make you feel? And then my tablet went haywire. Peppa says, this music is about space. Danny asked, it's an alien birthday party. Then I said, what is wrong with my tablet? And then I pressed restart. And then, hello, I'm an alien. And then, I am a robot. I am a robot. Ding dong ding. Peppa asked, this is the best music yet. And then I said, oh, no, I think the machine was broken. That's right. I said, there. Then I asked, now tell me, how does this song make you feel? Susie asked, how's the music machine got wrong yet? That's right. I said, oh, no. My tablet's okay. This song makes me feel nice and calm and a lovely man with a lovely heart. Donnie asked, please, can we have the space music again? And then I said, that was not music. It was the machine going haywire. After, please, can we have the space music again? And then I said, that was not music. It was my tablet going wrong. Or when Daddy Pig says, glitter. Or when Daddy Pig says, glitter. Or when Fleur says, sorry, Peppa, I can't play right now. I had to get my little baby brother, Alex, to sleep. And then Daddy Pig says, when George was a baby, he used to cry all the time. Peppa asked, how does it do that? Daddy Pig says, we used to push him around the house. Daddy Pig asked, how many times was round the house, Mummy Pig? 3 times. Mummy Pig says, 15 times. And then Daddy Pig says, Daddy Pig starts pushing Alex around the house 15 times. Or when Daddy Pig says, is there any more spaghetti? And then Mummy Pig says, Daddy Pig, you already had 3 helpings. And then Daddy Pig says, I don't think I shouldn't eat so much spaghetti. And he gets a bellyache and he looks right at us. Or when Daddy Pig says, I'm having a baby. And then Mommy Pig says, we. And then Daddy Pig says, we are having a baby. Then George says, what? Or when Mommy Pig says, maybe bragging Evie wasn't a great idea. Luckily, Evie has headphones. Mommy Pig asks, maybe bragging Evie wasn't a great idea. Or when Miss Rabbit says, woof, what? Then, oops, Miss Rabbit tripped on one of Richard's cars. Miss Rabbit says, oh, my ankle. I can still hop to work. Then Miss Rabbit has to stay here and rest her ankle. And I'm in charge of her. I can look after her. Or when Mommy Pig says, what thing do you got this time, Daddy Pig? Then Daddy Pig says, nothing. It's, then Mommy Pig says, a jumper. Where Daddy Pig says, if, then Peppa says, what's that? And then Mommy Pig says, a jumper. And then Daddy Pig says, yeah, I used to bounce a lot when I was just little. See? Then Mommy Pig says, are you sure? You got a lot of things in the closet. Then Daddy Pig says, oh, right. Now, to go on the jumper, go on one foot, and then the other foot, and then bounce. And then Mommy Pig says, are you sure, Daddy Pig? That belongs to the outside. Then Daddy Pig says, don't worry, Mommy Pig. And then Daddy Pig says, whoa. And then Mommy Pig says, Daddy Pig! And then Daddy Pig says, maybe you're right. Maybe it belongs to the outside. And then Daddy Pig says, now, to get that right, go on one foot and then the other foot. And then Daddy Pig says, you see, easy as pie. Yai, 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 yai. And then Mommy Pig says, oh! Then Daddy Pig says, maybe not a lot. And then Mommy Pig says, are you okay, Daddy Pig? Or when Peppa says, don't break the wall, Daddy. Then Daddy Pig says, don't be silly, Peppa. And then, oops, Daddy Pig broke the wall. Peppa asks, don't break the wall, Daddy. Daddy Pig says, don't be silly, Peppa. It's coming out. Whoa! And then, oops, Daddy Pig broke the wall. Or when Peppa says, I know whose this is. Then I said, who is it? And then Peppa says, it's Anna's action video. That's right. I said, so that's what my video looks like. That's right. I said, Danny, what is yours? Danny asked, it is Anna's action video. That's where I said, oh, so this is my video too. And then Zoe Zebra says, you got another picture. Then Susie Sheep says, and another picture. And then Becca Rabbit says, and another picture. All the world has the pictures of my videos. That's where I said, my goodness, that is a lot of my videos. Or when I said, that was great, children. Or when I said, Daddy Pig, how about you give it a sniff? Then Daddy Pig says, okay. Then Daddy Pig says, yeah. And then the smell of the Anna Ghost video knocked Daddy Pig off his feet. Daddy Pig says, wow, now that's what I call one strong scent. Or when Grandpa Pig dropped an anchor on his foot, I said, okay, how did this happen? Danny Dog asked, he dropped an anchor on his foot. After I said, okay, how did this happen? Then he dropped an anchor on his foot. Grandpa Pig asked, it was an accident. That's why I said, okay. That's why I said, I think I'm gonna have to take you to the doctors. And then I said, we need to look at that ankle. And then Granddad Dog says, you shouldn't do it. And then Grandpa Pig says, it was an accident. That's what I said, I know, we need to take you to the doctors. Or when I said, hi Peppa Pig family, that's what I said, that's my clubhouse. I tried to fix it, but it keeps collapsing like this. That's where I said, let me do this again.